Hey guys, LevelCap here, and today it's time for an episode of Loadout, the series where you guys, the viewers, get to pick my gun and customization for me to use. The way you do this is you leave a comment down below letting me know what kind of weapon and accessories you'd like me to run with, and I will pick one of the top rated comments for the next episode. Today's top comment comes from Toby Wood. He says, all ghillied up, third try. Class is the engineer, primary is the MK14 EBR with an ACOG scope and suppressor. Secondary is the Compact 45, laser or light with a suppressor. Gadget 1 is Stinger, Gadget 2 is your choice. I decided to go with the blowtorch in case I needed to repair a vehicle or just troll an opponent. And then he says, you are Lieutenant Price, a fresh young sniper from the SAS. You have been tasked with taking out Imran Zarkaev, the last official sanctioned assassination by the UK government. Use stealth tactics and evasion to stay away from as many enemies as possible, but don't let your one goal slip from sight in the wastes of Chernobyl. If you're bothered by the enemy helicopters, feel free to whip out your Stinger and take some pot shots. Conquest is probably what you want to play in this loadout. And for those of you who don't remember, this is actually based off of a Call of Duty mission from Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, and this was one where you had to creep around in a ghillie suit, take a shot at an assassination target, and then you also take out a helicopter. It's a pretty cool mission. In fact, Jack Frags did a updated like 4K video on it recently, which is pretty cool, and if you've never seen the mission, I'd recommend checking it out. Alright, now let's examine our loadout here for a second. We're using a suppressed sniper rifle. Now, there's plenty of suppressors on sniper rifles in real life. The difference that most of them have with the suppressed sniper rifles in Battlefield is that in real life they're not using subsonic ammo most of the time. The suppressor does reduce the sound of a non-subsonic round a bit, and it can make it harder for the enemy to get your exact location based on the amount of sound coming off of the weapon, but it doesn't make it silent if you're not using subsonic ammo. This way you can maintain high bullet velocity when you're firing at targets. But in Battlefield, for whatever reason, they just say, hey, if you get a suppressor on, you're now using subsonic ammo, and this makes it incredibly hard to hit moving targets. Subsonic ammo would probably be adequate for like medium to medium long-ish range sniping, but you probably wouldn't want your target to be moving to actually, reliably hit them. And yes, technically I know this isn't classified as a sniper rifle in the game, it is a designated marksman rifle, but we are very much using it here as a sniper's primary weapon, as it was used in the mission All Ghillied Up. One of the differences though with the mission and what we're using now is that the rifle in the actual mission had a much higher magnification scope than the 4x ACOG. And although I wasn't really fighting any helicopters in the rush game mode here, I was shooting down MAVs all the time with the Stinger. I would have played on Conquest, but unfortunately you probably would not have seen as many kills playing on Conquest. I find it to be a fun game mode, but definitely more sparse in terms of like action-packed fun kills. Now, as you can see, I am having a hard time hitting a lot of my targets simply because of the extremely slow muzzle velocity. Anybody side strafing, running, or doing any sort of movement at all becomes a very difficult target to hit at even medium range, because this gun is really like kind of throwing stones at your enemy. The bullets travel so crazy slow. I feel like the kills I probably would have gotten with this gun might have like doubled without the suppressor on it. Something that I wish Battlefield did with Battlefield 4 was give you either the option to use subsonic ammo and have the suppressor reduce basically your signature on the minimap. So if somebody was in say 40 feet of you, they'd see you if you fired a gun with just a normal suppressor on it and no subsonic ammo. But beyond that point, maybe you wouldn't pop on the minimap. So you could have sort of a radius signature instead, and that way you wouldn't have to have all the negative side effects of using subsonic ammo, like that extremely slow muzzle velocity. Just an idea, but it's probably something we're not going to have to worry about in Battlefield 1. Although we do have suppressor-like devices in Battlefield 1, it remains to be seen what it's actually going to do to the weapons, and you already don't pop on the minimap even when firing unsuppressed weapons. That's actually going to be one of the more important changes made between the normal gameplay of Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 1, and it's something I definitely approve of. It'll mean that the average player is going to be less reliant on looking at that minimap to locate his enemies and more reliant on what he sees in front of him and here's. Now here we're playing some rush where ultimately we're getting to the point where I kind of have to force myself to get into close quarters a bit. Using this weapon in CQB really is not ideal. Ideally, you want to be at medium range. You don't have the muzzle velocity to take care of anybody at further ranges reliably. I mean, it can be done, but if they're moving, like, good luck trying to lead on your target. And then in close quarters, you still need a 3-shot kill to kill with this gun. The muzzle velocity still hurts you in close quarters, and if you miss any one of those 3 shots, you're probably not going to win the firefight, and even then, the DPS is so low compared to fully automatic assault rifles that it's still going to be very hard to deal with a skilled opponent, or even a moderately skilled opponent. Now, the Mark 14 EBR is a variation of the M14, which has been a standard in the US military for a long time. It's been a very reliable and inexpensive to manufacture precision weapon. The EBR is a little bit more advanced than the standard M14 rifle, but it's still a cool gun, and something that I like about it a lot is if you're using the iron sights on it, it has some of the lowest profile iron sights compared to other rifles out there, where your sight line is almost directly in line with the barrel, which is something that can be important if you're trying to expose yourself as little as possible when peeking up over a ridge. And in fact, the rifles in World War I took that a step further and put the scopes side mounted on the rifles so that the shooters would have to expose as little of their head as possible when shooting over the trenches, as sniping in trench warfare was incredibly dangerous but also very effective. Now, admittedly, I probably would have gotten a bit more use out of the Stinger if we were playing on Conquest, but I probably wouldn't have seen as many targets and gotten as many cool kills for you guys. Then again, the use of a suppressor, especially when playing defensively on a rush game, is debatable. I mean, I'm surrounded by teammates who are all pinging themselves on the minimap constantly, so there's no question as to where the general force of the enemies are. Whereas in Conquest, if I was kind of moving around by myself, solo capping points, trying to be incognito, the suppressor would come in much more handy, but I'd really have to let the targets get closer to around medium range before really trying to take them out. Now, I actually enjoy medium range sniping quite a bit because it allows you to feel like you can easily transition to close range sniping if you need to. You can get in there and arm some objectives, which I did a couple of times, or defuse those objectives, whereas long range sniping kind of keeps you at such a great distance that you can't really get in there and do some quick dirty work if you have to. Your primary role is to just keep your distance, kill people from range, which can still have a hugely detrimental effect on the enemy. In fact, I think that's something that people don't consider as much in Battlefield, is really good snipers at long range that can at least hold their own in terms of just getting a decent amount of kills, can demoralize the heck out of the enemy team and make players not really want to expose themselves at all to certain flanks, which can kind of funnel them into areas and make them easier for your team to really figure out where they are, kill them, and corral them, basically. And the Compact 45 that I'm using here is certainly not a bad gun having close quarters. In fact, I kind of favored using this over the DMR when somebody got too close, because the DMR takes 3 shots to kill. The Compact 45 basically takes 3 shots to kill as well. It's kind of funny if you think about it, actually, considering that the EBR's round is considerably larger than a 45 ACP, but they've done it for balance issues in Battlefield 4. I don't know, I kind of preferred the DMRs in Battlefield 3. You could 2-shot people in close quarters, 1-shot headshot if you were good enough. They felt like they're a bit more fun to use. Battlefield 4 really restricts their close range use, and frankly at medium range they're not necessarily the best guns ever. And of course, what Loadout video is complete without at least doing 1 round of TDM. Playing on Paracel Storm here with the storm blowing, not only is it hard to hear your opponent's footsteps regardless, but with the suppressor on my weapon, everybody's going to be looking at that minimap to try and find their enemies. I'm not going to be showing up there, so I did find it a bit more effective in TDM versus playing Rush. Now, to conclude this Loadout video, some of you guys know that there's going to be a big EA event tomorrow at Gamescom in Germany, and I will be there. We're going to be seeing some new stuff from Battlefield 1. I can't really tell you what it is. I don't actually know exactly what it is at this point, but I imagine it's going to be cool. I'm pretty excited for it. I'll be linking some stuff tomorrow on Facebook and Twitter if you guys want to know exactly where it is and where you can watch the event. So if you got time, definitely tune in. And that does wrap it up for today's video. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to post your comments down below for next week's episode, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.